Somehow, we have turned into a country where anti-Semitism is normal, accepted even. We now live in a country where college students who also happen to be Jewish are being blamed for a war happening 6,000 miles away in Gaza. We now live in a country where two people, a beautiful young couple with their entire lives ahead of them, can be gunned down in cold blood outside a Jewish museum in our nation's capital because an insane 30-year-old Democrat who donated money to Joe Biden and marched with Black Lives Matter went to that museum last night on a mission to kill Jews. That is this country right now. He even admitted to it on camera last night when he was being arrested. This 30-year-old fool, radicalized to fully support a terrorist organization. He will now spend the rest of his life in jail or face the death penalty, a domestic terrorist from the city of Chicago. And just days ago, at Columbia University, we saw more of this simmering hate build as these entitled radicals set their brand new college degrees on fire, chanting "Free, Free Palestine." Take a look.
Free, free Palestine.
Think about the parents and the grandparents that were at that ceremony to watch their kids and grandkids graduate. 4 years of hard work. Costs a lot of money to send kids to college. And they're sitting there watching this. Students burning their diplomas and their graduation caps. All of this, of course, went totally unchecked by Joe Biden. And we know why now, don't we? Joe Biden was a vegetable for 4 years, probably more. And because of that, this movement of hate, this sick, anti-Semitic movement was able to flourish in America, right here at home, while we were all told that white supremacy was the greatest threat to democracy. Remember this?
According to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists.
And once the anti-Israel, pro-Hamas protests started, the presidents of the most elite universities in America refused to call these protests and in some cases riots what they were: domestic terrorism, anti-Semitism, hate, Jew hate born and being promoted right here in America. This would be a different situation if they were doing this, say, against trans people or black college students. Imagine the reaction from Democrats in the media. But because they're Jews, nobody cares. And what happened last night was bound to happen. The culmination of all of this insanity, endorsed by Democrats, that happened on Joe Biden's watch. And now two people, a beautiful young couple, are dead because of the way that Benjamin Netanyahu is waging a war 6,000 miles away. Think about that. Dave Portnoy tweeting last night. He founded Barstool Sports. He tweeted, "A domestic terrorist went hunting Jews last night in Washington, D.C., killing 2 Jews. The terrorist, Elias Rodriguez, yelled 'Free Palestine' as he got arrested. This type of tragedy is the natural progression of events when the morons running our colleges, far-left politicians, and hate merchants on social media continue to normalize and seemingly encourage anti-Semitism in this country." Dave Portnoy is Jewish. Dave Portnoy is right. And Democrats claim Donald Trump is a Nazi. Let me ask you, who are the real Nazis in this country right now? We'll let you decide at home. But many are about to graduate from colleges, from the same elite universities, and they'll do so in 2 days, on Saturday. That has to end. This all has to end. But the media doesn't care. The media are on the side of these protesters. They're on the side of Hamas. Our own media takes the word of the Hamas Health Ministry over the Israeli government, over our own government, now that Donald Trump's in charge. And our same dishonest media told the world that what we saw happen at the White House yesterday was an ambush. But what's interesting to me is how multiple news anchors, and I put big quotes around that because they're not real journalists, but multiple news anchors, all working at different liberal media outlets, all came up with the exact same way to describe what happened in the White House yesterday. Take a look.
We turn to the dramatic scene in the Oval Office today. The tense confrontation, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
Today, Donald Trump meeting with the president of South Africa and attempting to ambush and humiliate that leader inside the Oval Office.
Nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush that President Trump laid out.
Why did they choose to ambush the South African president?
It's pretty unbelievable. Ambush. In ambush. It was an ambush. Yeah, it was a total ambush. So just a few things about that alleged ambush. The first, have you ever noticed that no matter who is sitting next to Donald Trump in the Oval Office, the media instinctively takes the other guy's side instead of the president's, instead of the American president's side? Look, I get the media has to call truth to power, but they never do that, okay? It doesn't matter who it is. The media are always on the other guy's side every single time. Zelensky, South Africa, doesn't matter. And now this is an ambush. But let me ask, how is it an ambush when the president of South Africa was invited to the White House? He was invited. How's it an ambush when the president of South Africa flew across an ocean to get to America? How is it an ambush when the genocide happening in South Africa was on the agenda before the meeting? That's not an ambush. That's the opposite. Isn't it interesting, an ambush? An ambush is when one party shows up uninvited or unexpected. That's not what we saw yesterday at the White House. This gentleman was invited, he was expected. But by calling it an ambush, the rest of the media don't have to cover the truth, and there it is. By covering the ambush, white news anchors don't have to cover the murder and genocide of innocent white farmers in South Africa, something the media still claim today is not happening. But for proof that it is happening, we had the U.S. ambassador to South Africa on Finnerty last night. And in very clear terms, I asked her if white farmers are in fact being murdered in South Africa, and this is how she responded. Madam Ambassador, yes or no, and I just asked because I promised the audience, yes or no, are white South African farmers being slaughtered in South Africa at this time?
Yes.
Well, there it is right there. And the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump could not be more clear right now. Joe Biden hosted that very same man yesterday, the president of South Africa, in that very same room. It was 3 years ago, and the exchange was quite a bit different from what we saw yesterday. Nothing about the genocide happening in South Africa.
We've ended up with two great democracies and a lot to do, and you've become, you personally and your country, are such a critical part of what happened to this continent of 100 million people.
This is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers.
Yeah, what you're seeing there is the contrast between vegetable and actual president. Donald Trump, a real president, doing what is in America's best interests and the best interests of people all over the world, trying to end wars, standing up for white people in South Africa. And just when we think that maybe Democrats are on the verge of turning this all around, getting their act together, we see things like this. According to a new poll, the Democratic Party is now being led by a 35-year-old Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. 26% of registered Democrats say that she is the face of the party. 26% of Democrats are so mad at their own party that they would rather have a woman who does not have a single legislative accomplishment to her name in charge instead of anyone else representing their party. A party that is lost, a party that hasn't held an honest presidential primary since 2012. Think about that. In 2016, they stole it from Bernie Sanders. In 2020, Jim Clyburn and Joe Biden stole it from everybody else and then used COVID to campaign from the basement. And in 2024, the party just anointed Kamala Harris. They didn't even hold a primary. What do Bernie Sanders, Dean Phillips, and RFK all have in common? They were all robbed by their own party, the Democratic Party.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.